I showed up to my law school graduation party, only for the venue to be closed. I called my wife. She said, "You don't deserve to be celebrated. So no party for you." Then I saw my wife's post on her social media, partying and kissing her boss. So I walked away, quietly canceled every payment, and sold my 90% stake in her boss's company, $157 million worth. Minutes later, my phone lit up with 154 missed calls, and someone showed up at my door. You know that feeling when you're riding high on life, thinking you've got everything figured out, and then reality decides to dropkick you right in the teeth? Yeah, well, welcome to my Tuesday night in downtown Manhattan, where I'm standing outside the Meridian Hotel like some kind of abandoned tourist who missed the last bus home. I adjust my tie, the expensive Italian silk one that Clarissa picked out because it makes your eyes pop, darling, and check my watch again. 7:30 p.m. sharp, just like we planned. Just like we've been planning for 3 goddamn months. This was supposed to be my night. My law school graduation party. The culmination of 3 years of legal torture, caffeine addiction, and slowly watching my social life die a painful death in the bowels of Columbia's law library. But here's the thing about expectations. They're basically just disappointment wearing a fancy suit. The hotel's valet stand sits empty, which should have been my first red flag. Usually, this place is crawling with guys in burgundy uniforms who treat your car keys like they're handling the crown jewels. Tonight, nothing. Just a lonely podium and a sign that says valet returns at 11 p.m. Weird, but hey, maybe they're just running behind. I walk up to the ballroom entrance, and that's when the second red flag starts waving like it's trying to flag down a taxi in rush hour. The doors, those massive oak and brass beauties that probably cost more than my first semester's tuition, are chained shut, not locked. Chained, like someone's trying to keep zombies in, or in this case, apparently trying to keep me out. The lights inside are off, which is particularly fascinating considering we booked this joint for 200 people and dropped enough cash to fund a small country's defense budget. I press my face against the glass like some kind of desperate window shopper, cupping my hands to block out the street lights. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No tables with crisp white linens. No ice sculptures shaped like gavels. No string quartet tuning up in the corner. Just darkness and the faint smell of industrial cleaning products. What the hell is going on here? I pull out my phone and scroll to Clarissa's contact. Her picture smiles back at me. That perfect headshot from when she made partner track at Henderson and Associates. All pearl earrings and confidence that could power a small city. I hit call and listen to it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th ring, just when I'm about to hang up and assume she's dealing with some last-minute party crisis, she picks up. "Hello, Michael." Her voice comes through crystal clear, but there's something underneath it that makes my stomach drop like I just stepped off a cliff. In the background, I can hear what sounds like a party in full swing. Laughter, clinking glasses, that particular buzz of conversation that happens when people are 3 drinks in and feeling philosophical about life. "Clarissa, where are you?" "I'm at the hotel, but the doors are chained shut and there's no party for you." The words hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Simple, direct, devastating. She says it like she's telling me the weather forecast, except instead of partly cloudy with a chance of rain, it's completely screwed with a 100% chance of humiliation. What do you mean there's no party for me? We planned this together. We sent invitations. You don't deserve to be celebrated. And there it is. The gut punch that leaves me doubled over on a Manhattan sidewalk while people in expensive coats walk past like my world isn't currently imploding. Her voice is dripping with this disdain that I've never heard before, like she's been storing it up for months and finally found the perfect moment to unleash it. I'm frozen, literally frozen, standing on West 44th Street while the city rushes past in its usual New York rhythm. Taxis honk, people shout into their phones, someone's playing saxophone badly in the distance, and here I am, processing the fact that my wife, just told me I don't deserve to be celebrated for graduating law school. Not just any law school, mind you, but Columbia Law, where I busted my ass for 3 years, where I gave up weekends and sleep and any semblance of a normal social life to make something of myself. The years of study flashed through my mind like some cruel highlight reel. All those nights in the library until they kicked me out at midnight. The sacrifices, skipping dinners with friends, missing family gatherings, turning down job opportunities that would have paid well but might have interfered with my studies. The long nights with case law and legal briefs spread across our kitchen table while Clarissa complained about the mess. Every exam I stressed over, every paper I rewrote until my eyes bled, every moment I chose my future over immediate gratification. And apparently, none of it means anything to her. I want to say something clever, something cutting that would make her realize how absolutely insane this is, but my brain has apparently decided to take a vacation right when I need it most. So I just stand there, phone pressed to my ear, listening to her party continue in the background while my own celebration sits behind chained doors. Clarissa, I don't understand what's. But she's already hung up. The line goes dead, leaving me with nothing but the dial tone and the sound of my own rapid breathing. This is when most people would probably call an Uber and head home to drink themselves into a stupor while watching Netflix and questioning their life choices. But me? I do what any self-respecting millennial does when faced with emotional devastation. I open Instagram. Big mistake. Huge. The first thing that pops up in my feed is a post from Clarissa's account, and I swear my heart actually stops beating for a solid 10 seconds. There she is, looking absolutely stunning in that champagne-colored dress. The one I bought her from Bergdorf Goodman for $800 because she said she wanted to look perfect for our special night. She's glowing, radiant, like she's living her absolute best life. And she's kissing Martin Cross. Not a friendly peck on the cheek. Not an innocent congratulations hug. She's full-on making out with her boss like they're starring in some kind of romantic movie. And the caption underneath makes me want to throw my phone into traffic. Thank you for sponsoring my future. Two Hearts sparkles #blessed #new beginnings. My chest tightens like someone's wrapping rubber bands around my lungs. I read the caption again, because surely I misunderstood. Sponsoring her future? Martin Cross, the guy who couldn't find his way out of a paper bag without GPS, is sponsoring her future? The comments are flowing in fast and furious. Heart emojis, congratulations, people I thought were my friends posting things like, so happy for you both, and about time. About time? How long has this been going on? I scroll through more of her recent posts, my thumb moving faster as the pieces start falling into place. Photos from work events that I now realize were dates. Business dinners, where she's looking at Martin like he hung the moon and personally installed all the stars. Networking opportunities that seem to involve an awful lot of intimate candlelit settings. I've been erased, not just from tonight's party, but from my own success story. 3 years of law school, and somehow I've become a footnote in someone else's narrative. The husband who got in the way. The dead weight that needed to be cut loose so she could soar to new heights with her visionary boss. Standing on that sidewalk, still holding my phone like it might explode, I realized something that cuts deeper than anything she said on the phone. I've been living a lie. Not just for tonight, not just for the past few months, but possibly for years. And the worst part? Everyone else apparently knew it except me. The city keeps moving around me, completely indifferent to the fact that my marriage, my celebration, and apparently my entire understanding of reality just went up in flames. But something else is starting to build in my chest, something that's pushing past the shock and hurt and settling into something much more dangerous. Determination. You know what they say about the best-laid plans of mice and men? Well, turns out the mice might actually have their shit together better than I thought, because at least they don't get blindsided by their own wives on what should have been the biggest night of their lives. I make it back to my apartment in record time, though I honestly couldn't tell you how I got here. One minute I'm standing on West 44th Street watching my marriage burn down in real time via Instagram, and the next I'm fumbling with my keys like some kind of drunk freshman who can't figure out which end goes in the lock. The muscle memory of 3 years of late-night library sessions apparently extends to finding my way home while in a state of complete emotional devastation. Who knew? The apartment feels different when I walk in. Everything looks exactly the same. Clarissa's throw pillows are still perfectly arranged on the couch. Her organic kale chips are still cluttering up the kitchen counter. Her collection of inspirational coffee table books about women who changed the world are still strategically placed to impress dinner guests. But something's fundamentally shifted. It's like walking into a museum exhibit titled The Life You Thought You Had, sponsored by denial and stupidity. First things first, I need a drink. Not just any drink, but the good stuff. The 18-year-old Macallan that I've been saving for tonight's celebration. Ironic, considering tonight's celebration turned out to be about as real as Santa Claus and functional government. I pour myself 3 fingers of liquid gold and head straight for my home office, the one room in this place that's entirely mine. Here's the thing about being married to someone who thinks organization is a personality disorder. You learn to keep your important stuff locked down tight. While Clarissa's idea of filing involves shoving receipts into whatever drawer happens to be closest, I've got a system that would make the IRS weep with joy. I slide open the bottom drawer of my mahogany desk, the one with the lock that Clarissa always complained about because, what are you hiding in there? State secrets. And pull out my pride and joy, a black leather binder that cost more than most people spend on groceries in a month. Inside this bad boy lies 3 years of meticulous record-keeping that would make an accountant's heart sing opera. See, here's what nobody tells you about law school. They teach you to document everything. Every transaction, every conversation, every promise made over dinner and wine. It becomes second nature, like breathing or checking your phone every 30 seconds. And when you're married to someone whose relationship with financial responsibility is about as stable as a house of cards in a tornado, documentation isn't just helpful, it's survival. I flip open the binder and take a long, satisfying sip of scotch. Page 1, rent receipts. Every single month for the past 3 years, documented in pristine detail. Clarissa's contribution to our cozy 2-bedroom on the Upper West Side? A big fat 0. Apparently, her salary as a junior associate at Henderson & Associates was barely enough to cover her professional wardrobe and networking expenses, which, in normal people speak, translates to, I spend all my money on designer shoes and overpriced salads. Page 2 through 15, tuition invoices. Columbia Law isn't exactly known for being budget-friendly. We're talking about the kind of money that could buy a decent house in most parts of the country. And guess whose name is on every single payment? That's right, yours truly. Clarissa insisted it was an investment in our future and promised to make it up to me once she made partner. Funny how those promises seem a lot less solid when your wife is tongue-wrestling her boss on social media. But wait, it gets better. Pages 16 through 25, her networking trips. Oh, those magical networking trips that were supposedly essential for her career development. Weekend conferences in Miami, legal seminars in California, professional development workshops in Vegas. Because nothing says serious legal professional like a 3-day conference at the Bellagio, right? I pull out my calculator. Old school. Baby, none of this iPhone nonsense when you're dealing with real money. And start adding up the damage. Flights, hotels, rental cars, client dinners that cost more than some people's monthly salary. The grand total makes me pour another drink. Then I flip to the section that's about to become very, very relevant. Martin Cross and the birth of Cross and Partners. 18 months ago, Clarissa came home from work with tears in her eyes and a story that would have made Shakespeare weep. Poor Martin, her brilliant boss, had this amazing vision for starting his own firm. He had the legal expertise, the client relationships, the sheer entrepreneurial spirit to make it happen. There was just one tiny little problem. He was broke as a joke. He needs startup capital, she'd said, curling up next to me on the couch with that look that usually preceded expensive requests. This could be huge for both of us. He's promised me senior associate, maybe even junior partner if the firm takes off. The amount he needed? $750,000. Not exactly pocket change, even for someone who'd been socking away money since his undergrad days. But Clarissa painted such a beautiful picture. Martin's legal brilliance, the untapped market for boutique corporate law, the potential returns that could set us up for life. So I did what any loving, supportive husband would do. I wrote the check. But here's where my law school training really paid off. I didn't just hand over $750,000 like some kind of trust fund kid with more money than sense. Oh no, I structured it properly. I flipped to page 32, where I've got copies of every single document related to the Cross and Partners deal. Partnership agreements, incorporation papers, stock certificates, the whole 9 yards. And right there, in beautiful black and white legalese, is the truth that's about to make Martin's day very, very interesting. I own 90% of Cross and Partners. That's right, 90%. Martin got his shiny CEO title and his corner office with the view of Central Park, but legally speaking, he's my employee, has been from day one. I let him strut around like he was some kind of legal visionary building an empire, but the reality is he's been playing dress-up in a company I own. The current valuation, according to their latest quarterly report that I definitely shouldn't have access to, but somehow do, $174 million. My 90% stake? $157 million. I lean back in my chair and laugh. Actually laugh out loud, which probably makes me look like some kind of supervillain, but I honestly don't give a damn. Clarissa thinks she can humiliate me, kiss her boss in public, and erase me from my own success story. She thinks she can upgrade from me to Martin Cross, the brilliant CEO who's going to sponsor her future. She has absolutely no idea that she's been standing on foundations I built with my own 2 hands and my own bank account. Martin Cross, the visionary entrepreneur? More like Martin Cross, the well-dressed middle manager who's been living in a house of cards that I can collapse with a phone call. I take another sip of scotch and start planning my next move. Because if Clarissa wants to play games, I'm about to show her how the game is really played. And the first rule of any good game? Know who actually owns the board. There's something oddly therapeutic about destroying someone's life while sipping 18-year-old scotch in your pajamas. I'm talking serious therapeutic value here, like the kind of zen that expensive spa treatments promise but never deliver. Who knew that revenge could be so damn relaxing? It's 3 a.m., and I'm wide awake, laptop glowing in the dark like some kind of digital campfire. Sleep is for people who haven't just discovered that their entire marriage was basically a very expensive performance art piece titled, How to Fund Your Own Humiliation. Me? I've got work to do. I start small, because I'm not a monster. Well, okay, maybe I am, but I'm a methodical monster with excellent organizational skills and a law degree that's apparently worth something after all. First up, the venue payment for tonight's party that never was. The Meridian Hotel charged me $8,000 for the ballroom rental, not including the premium bar package, the upgraded sound system, and the special lighting that was supposed to make everyone look like they were glowing with success. I pull up the contract on my laptop, and there it is in beautiful legal language. Payment may be reversed in cases of breach of contract or failure to provide agreed-upon services. Funny thing about contracts, they work both ways. They didn't provide the venue as agreed, so I'm not providing the payment as agreed. I log into my banking app and initiate a chargeback dispute. $8,000 back in my account, just like that. The best part? The hotel's going to have to explain to Clarissa why her party venue suddenly got repoed in the middle of the night. Next, the caterers. These guys were supposed to be the creme de la creme, the kind of culinary artists who charge $300 a head and somehow make it seem reasonable. Clarissa specifically requested them because they catered some fancy partner event at her firm, and she wanted to make a statement. Well, congratulations, honey. You definitely made a statement. Just not the one you were planning. I find their invoice in my email, another $5,000 for artisanal canapes and elevated comfort cuisine, whatever the hell that means. Probably fancy words for tiny sandwiches and overpriced mac and cheese. The payment was scheduled to process tomorrow morning, but guess what? Tomorrow morning, their account is going to get a very disappointing message about insufficient funds. The jazz trio gets the same treatment. Clarissa insisted we needed live music because a playlist would be tacky and not befitting the significance of the occasion. These 3 guys in bow ties were going to cost us $1,500 to play background music that nobody would remember anyway. Well, joke's on them. They can take their saxophones and their attitude and find another gig. But I'm just getting warmed up. This is like opening moves in chess, except instead of pawns, I'm moving credit cards and bank accounts around the board. I log into our joint credit card account, the American Express Black Card that Clarissa loves to flash around like it's some kind of status symbol. She uses this thing for everything: her daily Starbucks addiction, her weekly mani-pedi appointments, her monthly shopping sprees at boutiques with names I can't pronounce. The card that makes her feel like she's living her best life. Account privileges revoked. Just like that, her little piece of plastic becomes about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Next up, her Uber account, which is linked to my credit card because it's just so convenient, darling. Convenient for her, expensive for me. Every ride to and from her office, every late-night trip to meet clients, who apparently include her boss's lips. Every journey to those mysterious networking events, all funded by yours truly. Account payment method, removed. Seamless, her food delivery app of choice because cooking is apparently beneath someone of her caliber. Payment declined. That boutique yoga studio where she practices mindfulness for $120 a session, membership suspended. Her subscription to that high-end meditation app that was supposed to help her find inner peace, but apparently just helped her find inner justification for cheating, canceled. I'm on a roll now, fingers flying across the keyboard like I'm conducting some kind of digital orchestra of destruction. Every automatic payment, every subscription, every little convenience that made her life smooth and effortless, gone. Then I get to the big one. The joint account we set up specifically for her law school expenses. Even after she graduated, we kept it open for career development opportunities and continuing education. In reality, it became her personal slush fund for anything she could loosely categorize as professional development. Designer suits? Professional development. Expensive dinners with clients? Professional development. Weekend trips to conferences that looked suspiciously like vacations? You guessed it, professional development. Current balance: $43,000. In about 30 seconds, that balance is going to become $0 because I'm closing the account and transferring everything back to my primary checking. Let's see how much professional development she can afford on her own dime. But the piece de resistance, the main event, the grand finale that's going to make tonight feel like a gentle warm-up? Cross and Partners. I pull up the contact information for Global Corp Legal Holdings, one of those massive international law firms that treats smaller firms like appetizers at a corporate buffet. They've been circling Cross and Partners for months, making subtle inquiries about acquisition possibilities. Martin always brushed them off with that smug confidence of his, acting like he was too good for their offers. Well, Martin doesn't get to make those decisions. I do. I draft an email to their acquisitions team, professional and straightforward. I am the majority stakeholder of Cross and Partners, 90% ownership, and am interested in discussing immediate acquisition opportunities. Please contact me at your earliest convenience regarding current market valuations and terms. I hit send before I can second-guess myself. Then I call their 24-hour deal hotline, because apparently billion-dollar law firms never sleep. And within 10 minutes, I'm on a conference call with 3 senior partners who sound like they just won the lottery. They've been watching Cross and Partners' growth. They know exactly what the firm is worth, and they're ready to move fast. The offer comes back within an hour, $195 million for my 90% stake. Clean purchase, immediate transfer, no extended negotiations. My hands hover over the laptop keys one last time, and I think about Clarissa in that champagne dress, kissing Martin under those cruel Instagram lights. I think about her voice on the phone telling me I don't deserve to be celebrated. I think about 3 years of funding her dreams while she planned her exit strategy. Then I click accept. Just like that, I've sold my stake in Cross and Partners to a global powerhouse that's going to walk in Monday morning with their own plans, their own management structure, and their own ideas about who deserves corner offices. Martin Cross, visionary CEO and sponsor of Clarissa's future? By Monday afternoon, he's going to be Martin Cross, unemployed middle manager wondering what the hell just happened to his empire. I close the laptop, finish my scotch, and finally feel ready for sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day. You know that moment in disaster movies when the earthquake hits and everyone's running around screaming while buildings collapse in slow motion? Well, apparently I'm the earthquake, and my phone is ground zero for the aftermath. I wake up at exactly 9:47 a.m., which is later than I've slept in about 3 years. Law school will train you to function on 4 hours of sleep and pure caffeine. But revenge? Revenge is surprisingly exhausting work. Who knew that systematically dismantling someone's life could be such a workout? My first clue that the world has officially gone sideways comes before I even open my eyes. My phone is buzzing like an angry wasp trapped in a mason jar, that continuous vibration that means either someone died or someone's about to kill me. Given last night's activities, I'm betting on the latter. I roll over and grab the phone, squinting at the screen through morning light that feels way too bright for this level of drama. The notification count makes me blink twice to make sure I'm not hallucinating. 154 missed calls. 154. That's not a phone number. That's a small city's worth of panic compressed into digital format. Most of them are from Clarissa, obviously. Her contact photo. That perfect professional headshot that now looks like a mug shot from my new perspective has been lighting up my screen since about 6 a.m. The timestamps show a progression that would be hilarious if it wasn't so pathetic. Every 2 minutes from 6 to 7, every 5 minutes from 7 to 8, then a desperate barrage around 8:30 that suggests she finally figured out that her fancy plastic wasn't working anymore. But it's the text messages that really tell the story. Clarissa's emotional journey from confusion to fury to desperation, all laid out in a beautiful timeline of lowercase letters and increasingly frantic punctuation. 6:23 a.m. My card isn't working at Starbucks? Can you call me? 6:31 a.m. Seriously, Michael, what's going on with the Amex? 7:15 a.m. The yoga studio says my membership is suspended. This is ridiculous. 7:42 a.m. Call me back right now. 8:18 a.m. What did you do to our accounts? This isn't funny. 8:33 a.m. You're being childish and petty. Fix this immediately. 9:15 a.m. Michael, I swear to God, if you don't call me back, I'm coming over there. The evolution is beautiful, really. She starts off assuming it's some kind of technical glitch, like the universe just randomly decided to make her life inconvenient. Then comes the dawning realization that this might be intentional, followed by indignation that I would dare interfere with her perfectly curated lifestyle. Finally, we get to the threats, which is always where Clarissa lands when she doesn't get her way immediately. But Clarissa's meltdown is just the opening act. The real entertainment comes from Martin's messages, which are like watching a supposedly sophisticated businessman slowly realize he's been playing chess with a pigeon this whole time. His texts are way more professional than Clarissa's, probably because he's trying to maintain some dignity while his world burns down around him. But you can practically smell the panic through the screen. 7:45 a.m. Michael, we need to discuss some urgent matters regarding Cross and Partners. Please call me at your earliest convenience. 8:30 a.m. There seems to be some confusion regarding company ownership and recent communications with outside parties. This requires immediate clarification. 9:10 a.m. Michael, I'm not sure what's happening, but we have serious problems. Payroll is disrupted and vendors are asking questions. Call me now. I pour myself a cup of coffee, the good stuff, not the cheap grocery store blend, and scroll through the rest of the carnage. My phone is like a greatest hits compilation of people whose lives I apparently control more than they realized. The venue coordinator from the Meridian Hotel has left 3 increasingly frantic voicemails. In the first one, she's politely professional, asking about some irregularities with payment processing. By the third message, she sounds like she's been crying, something about the bride causing a scene in the lobby at midnight and security having to escort people out when the bar tab came back declined. The caterers sent an email with the subject line, "Urgent. Payment declined. Event tomorrow," which is pretty funny considering the event was yesterday and consisted of nothing but chained doors and broken dreams. The Jazz Trio's manager left a voicemail that's basically just heavy breathing and the phrase, "What the hell, man?" repeated 6 times. I respect the direct approach, but my absolute favorite has to be the message from Clarissa that she left around 3 a.m., when the scotch had probably worn off and the reality was really starting to sink in. Her voice is different in this one. Not angry, not demanding, just broken. You're destroying my life because you're bitter. This isn't fair, Michael. I worked for everything I have. I earned it. You can't just take it all away because you're upset about one stupid party. Call me back. Please just call me back and we'll figure this out. I take another sip of coffee and delete the message without a second thought. One stupid party? Lady, that one stupid party was just the grand finale of a 3-year performance where I played the role of ATM while you auditioned for the part of loving wife. Around 10:30, my doorbell rings. Not the gentle, polite ring of someone making a delivery, but the angry, sustained buzz of someone leaning on the button like they're trying to send Morse code in desperation. I walk to the intercom and see Julia, Clarissa's assistant, standing on my stoop looking like she's been through a blender. Her usually perfect hair is disheveled, her cheeks are red from cold and what looks suspiciously like tears, and she's clutching her phone like it's a life preserver. "Julia," I say through the intercom, not bothering to hide my amusement. What brings you to my humble abode? Mr. Harrington, please, I need to talk to you. It's about Clarissa and everything that's happening. Can I please come up? I buzz her in because, honestly, I'm curious. Julia's been Clarissa's faithful sidekick for 2 years, handling everything from scheduling her nail appointments to covering for her when she was out on those mysterious networking trips. If anyone's got a front row seat to this disaster, it's her. She practically stumbles into my apartment, looking around like she's never seen the place before. Which is weird, considering she's been here dozens of times picking up files or dropping off dry cleaning. Everything's falling apart, she blurts out before I can even offer her coffee. The party collapsed in the middle of the night. People were dancing and drinking, and then suddenly the bar tab got declined. The venue manager came out and started asking questions about payment, and then security showed up because someone was shouting about fraud. I settle into my favorite chair and gesture for her to continue. This is better than Netflix. Martin's office is in chaos. Payroll didn't process this morning. Half the staff is asking questions about their direct deposits, and the other half is whispering about some kind of buyout. The phones are ringing nonstop with vendors wanting to know why their payments bounced. She's talking faster now, like she needs to get it all out before she loses her nerve. Clarissa's been in the bathroom, crying for an hour. She keeps asking me to call you, but you're not answering, and I don't know what to tell her because I don't understand what's happening. I take another sip of my coffee and give her absolutely nothing. No explanation, no sympathy, no reassurance that everything's going to work out fine. Just silence and the steady tick of my kitchen clock. Mr. Harrington, please, she tries again. Whatever's going on between you and Clarissa, there are other people involved now. Good people who don't deserve to lose their jobs because of whatever this is. That's when I lean forward and look her directly in the eyes. Julia, I say, my voice perfectly calm. I haven't destroyed anything. I've just stopped paying for it. Hashtag Chapter 5, Terms of Surrender. There's something deeply satisfying about drafting legal documents when you're running on pure spite and premium coffee. It's like meditation, except instead of finding inner peace, you're finding inner vengeance. And honestly, inner vengeance is way more fun. After Julia leaves, looking like someone who just witnessed a car accident in slow motion, I settle back into my home office with a fresh cup of coffee and the kind of focus that usually only comes from Adderall and looming deadlines. But today's deadline is entirely self-imposed. How quickly can I turn 3 years of legal education into the most beautifully crafted screw you letter in the history of matrimonial warfare? I fire up my laptop and open a fresh document, the cursor blinking at me like it's waiting for inspiration. Well, cursor, today's your lucky day, because inspiration is about to flow like wine at a frat party. The header gets the full treatment. Heavyweight cream paper, embossed letterhead, the kind of formatting that screams, this document cost more to print than your monthly grocery budget. Because if you're going to destroy someone's life, you might as well do it with style. Terms of Resolution ***. From Michael J. Harrington, ESQ ***. To Clarissa M. Harrington ***. Re. Dissolution of Financial Support and Marital Relations ***. God, I love legal language. It's like regular English, except it wears a 3-piece suit and charges by the hour. Term 1. Public Acknowledgement of Educational Support ***. This is where things get fun. Clarissa must post a public statement, and I mean public, not some buried Facebook post that only her aunt from Wisconsin will see, acknowledging that I funded her law degree in full. We're talking Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, maybe even a full-page ad in the New York Law Journal, if I'm feeling particularly vindictive. The exact wording is non-negotiable. I want to publicly acknowledge that my husband, Michael Harrington, funded my law school education at Columbia Law School in its entirety. My previous social media posts and public statements suggesting alternative sources of support were inaccurate and misleading. I am grateful for his financial investment in my career and want to set the record straight. I read it over twice, making sure every word hits exactly the right note of humiliation disguised as gratitude. It's like a thank you card written by a lawyer who specializes in emotional warfare. Term 2. Resignation and Forfeiture ***. Martin Cross must resign from Cross and Partners immediately, effective upon execution of this agreement. Not next month, not after he transitions his responsibilities, not after he finds a new job. Immediately. As in, clean out your desk and turn in your key card. Buddy, because the building's under new management. And here's the beautiful part. He waives all rights to severance, benefits, stock options, or any other compensation beyond his final paycheck. You know, the paycheck that's probably going to bounce because Global Corp Legal Holdings is going to have some very interesting questions about the company's financial structure once they take over. Term 3. Asset forfeiture and property rights, ***. This is where I get to flex those property law classes that I thought would never be useful in real life. Clarissa waives any and all claims to my assets, including, but not limited to, real estate holdings, investment portfolios, retirement accounts, intellectual property, business interests, and that vintage guitar collection that she always said was taking up too much space. She also agrees to vacate our shared residence within 30 days and remove all personal belongings. Anything left behind becomes my property by default. I'm particularly looking forward to donating her collection of inspirational self-help books to Goodwill. Term 4. Non-disclosure and non-disparagement ***. Here's where my law school education really pays off. Both Clarissa and Martin agree to a binding non-disclosure agreement regarding any and all aspects of our marriage, my business dealings, and the circumstances surrounding the dissolution of our relationship. They also agree to non-disparagement terms, which basically means they can't trash-talk me in public, private, or on social media. No bitter ex-wife interviews, no tell-all blog posts, no passive-aggressive Instagram stories with vague references to toxic people, and moving on from negativity. The penalty for violation? Liquidated damages of $50,000 per incident. Because apparently, putting a price tag on keeping your mouth shut is perfectly legal when you've got the right paperwork. Term 5. Breach and enforcement ***. This is my favorite part, the legal equivalent of mess with me and find out. Any breach of these terms results in immediate litigation and asset clawbacks. I'm talking about going after every penny I ever spent on her education, every dollar that went toward her professional development, every cent that funded her lifestyle while she was planning her exit strategy, plus attorney fees, plus court costs, plus whatever punitive damages I can convince a judge she deserves for the sheer audacity of thinking she could humiliate me without consequences. I lean back in my chair and admire my handiwork. 5 terms, each one more devastating than the last, laid out in the kind of precise legal language that makes it impossible to misinterpret or wiggle out of. It's like a prenuptial agreement, except instead of protecting assets before marriage, it's destroying lives after betrayal. The beauty of this document isn't just in its legal precision, it's in its psychological warfare. Every term is designed to strip away not just their financial security, but their dignity, their public image, their sense of control over their own narrative. Clarissa wanted to erase me from my own success story. Well, congratulations, honey, because now she gets to publicly acknowledge that her entire career was built on my foundation. Martin wanted to play CEO while I bankrolled his empire? Hope he enjoys explaining to his next employer why his last job ended with him getting escorted out by security. I print the document on the good paper, the stuff I usually reserve for actual legal clients, and slide it into a heavy manila envelope with my law firm's return address. The kind of envelope that looks serious and official, the kind that makes your stomach drop when it shows up in your mailbox. Then I seal it with actual wax, because if you're going to serve someone legal papers that are going to ruin their life, you might as well make it look dignified. Just as I'm admiring the finished product, my doorbell rings again. I check the security camera and see Julia standing on my stoop, looking somehow even more frazzled than she did this morning. Her hair is completely disheveled now, her mascara is smudged, and she's clutching her phone like it might spontaneously combust. I buzz her up, envelope in hand. "Mr. Harrington," she starts before she's even fully through the door. "Clarissa sent me back. She's desperate. She says she'll do anything to fix this. She just needs to know what you want." I hold up the envelope, watching her eyes focus on it like it's a live snake. "Julia," I say, my voice perfectly calm, "I want you to deliver this to Clarissa. In person. Make sure she reads every word. Make sure she understands every clause. and makes sure she knows that she has exactly 24 hours to sign it. Julia takes the envelope with shaking hands, staring at it like it might explode. What happens if she doesn't sign it? I smile, and for the first time in this entire ordeal, it's not sarcastic or bitter. It's genuinely pleasant, the kind of smile that makes people nervous because they can't figure out what's behind it. Then we find out how much a really good divorce attorney costs these days. You know that old saying about how you can't go home again? Well, turns out nobody told Clarissa, because at exactly 7:43 p.m., she's standing at my door like some kind of designer ghost from relationships past. I'm halfway through a very satisfying dinner of leftover Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine that costs more than most people's car payments when I hear it. 3 soft knocks on the door. Not the angry pounding I was expecting. Not the dramatic fist-banging that would match her usual theatrical style. Just 3 quiet, almost hesitant knocks, like she's not sure she wants me to answer. Through the peephole, she looks like a completely different person than the glowing goddess from her Instagram post. The champagne dress, my $800 champagne dress, is wrinkled and stained with what looks suspiciously like mascara and red wine. Her hair, usually styled to perfection by some guy named Ricardo who charges more per hour than most lawyers, is greasy and hanging in limp strands around her face. The makeup that usually makes her look like she stepped off a magazine cover is completely gone, replaced by the kind of puffy, red-eyed look that comes from crying in bathroom stalls. She looks, in short, like someone who's been living in her car for the past 24 hours. Which, given that her credit cards are about as useful as Monopoly money right now, might actually be the case. I open the door and lean against the frame, taking in the full scope of her disaster. It's like looking at the after photo in one of those cautionary tales about what happens when you mess with someone who went to law school. Hello, Clarissa. I keep my voice perfectly neutral, like she's a door-to-door salesperson trying to convince me I need new windows. Michael. Her voice is hoarse, probably from all that crying Julia mentioned earlier. Can I come in? We need to talk. I step aside and gesture her into the apartment that used to be ours, but is now very definitively mine. She walks in like she's entering a crime scene, looking around at everything with this expression of confused recognition, like she can't quite believe she used to live here. You look like hell, I observe, settling back into my chair with my wine. I don't offer her a drink. I don't offer her a seat. I just watch her stand there in the middle of my living room, fidgeting with the hem of that expensive dress that now looks like something from a thrift store clearance rack. I've been trying to figure out what happened. She starts, and already I can tell this is going to be good. The party, the cards, Martin's company. None of it makes sense. I take a sip of wine and say nothing. One of the first things they teach you in law school is that silence makes people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people say stupid things. I'm really hoping Clarissa's about to say something spectacularly stupid. I know you're angry about the party, she continues, starting to pace back and forth across my hardwood floors in those ridiculously expensive heels that I probably paid for too. And I get it, okay? Maybe I handled it wrong. Maybe I should have told you differently. Maybe she should have told me differently. Like maybe she should have told me she was planning to humiliate me in front of half of Manhattan's legal community while making out with her boss for social media content. Yeah, that probably would have been the better approach. But this... She gestures vaguely around the apartment, like my furniture is somehow responsible for her current situation. This isn't fair, Michael. The cards, the accounts, whatever you did to Martin's company, it's vindictive. Vindictive. That's rich, coming from someone who spent 3 years planning her exit strategy while I funded her dreams. You want to know what's not fair? I finally speak, and she freezes mid-pace like I just fired a starting gun. What's not fair is funding someone's entire law school education while they're shopping for your replacement. What's not fair is paying for networking trips that were actually romantic getaways. What's not fair is having your wife tell you that you don't deserve to be celebrated on what should have been one of the biggest nights of your life. She opens her mouth to interrupt, but I hold up a hand. But most of all, what's not fair is discovering that your marriage was basically a very expensive performance art piece where I played the role of bank account while you auditioned for the part of loving wife. Her face goes through this fascinating series of expressions: surprise, guilt, defiance, desperation. Like she's cycling through different strategies to see which one might work. It wasn't like that. She finally settles on, going with denial. Classic choice. Yes, Martin and I got close, but it wasn't. It didn't mean anything until recently. The party wasn't supposed to hurt you. I just felt. She pauses, searching for the right words. I felt overshadowed. Overshadowed by the guy who was paying for her entire lifestyle. The logic is so twisted it's almost artistic. You felt overshadowed. I repeat slowly, letting the words hang in the air like a bad smell. So you decided the best solution was to erase me from my own graduation party and make out with your boss on Instagram. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Her voice is getting higher, more desperate. The party was supposed to be about celebrating both of us, but everyone kept talking about your law degree, your achievements, your future. I worked just as hard as you did, and nobody seemed to care. I leaned forward in my chair, really looking at her for the first time since she walked in. Clarissa, who do you think paid for you to work just as hard as I did? The question hits her like a physical blow. She actually staggers backward, her hand reaching for the wall to steady herself. I earned my degree, she whispers, but there's no conviction behind it anymore. With what money? Your salary barely covered your shoe budget. Your rent, your tuition, your books, your laptop, your bar exam prep courses. Where do you think that money came from? The student loan fairy. She's crying now, ugly tears that are probably ruining what's left of her makeup. But I'm not done. You want to talk about being overshadowed? Try paying for someone else's success while they publicly thank someone else for sponsoring their future. Michael, please. She's begging now, and part of me, a very small, very stupid part, almost feels sorry for her. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work it out. I made a mistake, okay? I admit it. But don't destroy everything we built together. I stand up, and she actually flinches. Clarissa, there is no we. There never was. There was me paying for things, and you taking credit for them. I walk to my desk and pull out a copy of the terms I drafted earlier. Her eyes widen when she sees the official letterhead. Julia delivered my terms, I assume? She nods, not trusting her voice. 24 hours, I say, checking my watch. You've got about 18 left. These terms are humiliating, she manages. Humiliation, I say, walking back to my chair, is standing outside a chain ballroom while your wife makes out with her boss on social media. Everything else is just consequences. For the first time since she walked in, Clarissa has nothing to say. She just stands there, staring at me like she's seeing a stranger. And maybe she is. Maybe the guy who funded her dreams and asked for nothing in return really is gone. Maybe what's left is someone who learned that the best way to deal with people who don't appreciate what you give them is to stop giving it. 18 hours, Clarissa. After that, we'll let the lawyers figure it out. There's something deeply satisfying about walking into a room where everyone thinks they know the rules of the game, except you're the only one who actually read the rulebook. It's like showing up to a poker game where everyone's been playing with Monopoly money while you've got the real deal tucked away in your jacket pocket. Monday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, I stride into the gleaming offices of Cross & Partners like I own the place. Which, until about 48 hours ago, I technically did. The building is one of those modern Manhattan towers with floor-to-ceiling windows and enough marble to build a small cathedral, the kind of place that screams, "We charge $400 an hour, and we're worth every penny." The receptionist, a perfectly polished 20-something named Madison, who probably went to some expensive private college and still lives in her parents' guest house in Connecticut, looks up from her computer with the kind of professional smile that falters the moment she recognizes me. "Mr. Harrington," she says, and I can hear the uncertainty in her voice. Word travels fast in small offices, and I'm betting the gossip mill has been working overtime since my little financial earthquake hit on Friday night. "Are you here to see Mr. Cross?" "Actually, Madison, Mr. Cross isn't here anymore," I say, adjusting my tie and enjoying the way her perfectly applied makeup can't quite hide the confusion spreading across her face. "I'm here for the emergency board meeting." The elevator ride to the 32nd floor feels longer than usual, probably because I'm savoring every second of what's about to happen. The offices of Cross & Partners occupy the entire floor, all glass walls and ergonomic furniture designed to impress clients and justify those ridiculous hourly rates. Usually, the place hums with the kind of productive energy that comes from very smart people making very large amounts of money. Today, it feels like a morgue where someone forgot to turn off the lights. Employees huddle in small groups near the coffee machine, their voices dropping to whispers when they see me walk past. The junior associates who usually stride around like they're the masters of the universe are now shuffling papers with the kind of nervous energy that suggests their job security just became a very real concern. The panic in the air is almost tangible, like humidity before a thunderstorm. You can practically smell the fear mixed with expensive cologne and the burnt coffee that happens when people are too stressed to remember how to work the machine properly. I make my way to the main conference room, the one with the mahogany table that seats 20 and the view of Central Park that probably adds $50,000 to the annual rent. Through the glass walls, I can see the senior staff gathered around scattered documents, their faces wearing the kind of expressions usually reserved for natural disasters and tax audits. I knock once on the door frame and walk in without waiting for permission, because honestly, what are they going to do? Fire me? Gentlemen, I say, setting my briefcase on the table with the kind of deliberate precision that makes everyone jump slightly. Ladies, I hope you don't mind if I join you. The senior partners, all 5 of them, look like they've been hit by a truck driven by the IRS. Brad Summers, the CFO who usually looks like he stepped out of a Wall Street recruiting poster, has loosened his tie and his hair is actually messed up. Sarah Chun, the managing partner who prides herself on never showing emotion in business dealings, has dark circles under her eyes that suggest she hasn't slept since Friday. Michael, Brad stammers, shuffling through a stack of papers like he's looking for a life preserver. We've been trying to reach you all weekend. There are some irregularities with the company structure that we need to discuss. Irregularities. That's a beautiful way to describe finding out that your entire company belongs to someone else. Where's Martin? Asks Jennifer Walsh, the senior litigation partner who usually speaks with the confidence of someone who's never lost a case. Today, she sounds like she's not sure she wants to know the answer. Martin submitted his resignation this morning. I say, settling into the chair at the head of the table like I belong there. Which, for the past 18 months, I have. Effective immediately. Didn't he send you all a copy? The silence that follows is so complete, I can hear the air conditioning system humming in the walls. 5 of Manhattan's most expensive legal minds, and none of them can figure out how to form words. Resignation? Sarah finally manages. Martin doesn't. He can't just resign. He's the CEO. He founded this company. I slide copies of the acquisition paperwork across the table, watching their faces as they process what they're reading. It's like watching people discover that gravity works in reverse, that fundamental assumption about reality that turns out to be completely wrong. Actually, I say, my voice perfectly calm while their world implodes around them. Martin had vision. I'll give him that. But vision doesn't pay for office space, employee salaries, or those custom Italian leather chairs you're all sitting in. I provided the capital. All of it. Brad picks up one of the documents, his hands shaking slightly as he reads. 90% ownership stake, he reads aloud, his voice getting quieter with each word. Primary shareholder, controlling interest. Wait, interrupts David Kim, the tax specialist who usually treats complex financial structures like Sudoku puzzles. You're saying Martin was never actually the owner. Martin was the CEO, I explain patiently, like I'm teaching a law school class on corporate structure. A very well-paid, very visible CEO who did excellent work building the company I funded. But ownership? Ownership was always mine. The reality is sinking in now, and I can practically see the mental calculations happening behind their eyes. Every decision Martin made, every company policy, every long-term strategy session. All of it happened at the pleasure of someone they barely knew existed. But the board meetings, Jennifer says weekly, the strategic planning sessions, Martin always made the final decisions. Martin made the decisions I allowed him to make. I correct. As long as the company was profitable and growing, I was happy to let him play CEO. It's amazing how much freedom you can give someone when you hold the mortgage on their empire. Sarah is flipping through the acquisition documents now, her lawyer brain finally kicking into gear. Global Corp Legal Holdings, she reads. You sold your stake to Global Corp? 90% of Cross and Partners for $195 million. I confirm. The transaction was completed over the weekend. Effective immediately, the number hits them like a physical blow. $195 million. For a company they thought belonged to their friend and colleague Martin Cross. Jesus Christ, Brad whispers, which is probably the first time he's used that kind of language in a boardroom. Martin had no idea, did he? Martin knew exactly what our arrangement was. I say, standing and walking to the window that overlooks the park. He just chose to believe his own press releases about being a visionary entrepreneur. It's a common mistake among people who confuse being the face of something with actually owning it. I turned back to face the room, where 5 of the city's most successful lawyers are sitting in stunned silence, probably wondering if their law degrees came with some kind of warranty they could invoke. Global Corp's transition team will be here Wednesday morning. I continue. They'll be conducting interviews with all senior staff to determine who fits into their long-term plans. I'd suggest updating your resumes. I pick up my briefcase and head for the door, pausing just before I leave. Oh, and if anyone's wondering where Martin is right now, I believe he's cleaning out his office. Security escorted him out around 8:30 this morning after he sent that resignation email. As I walk toward the elevator, I can hear the explosion of voices from the conference room behind me. Panic, anger, disbelief, and probably a few choice words about Martin Cross and his legendary business acumen. The elevator doors close on the sound of their world falling apart, and I have to admit, it's music to my ears. You know that moment in a chess match when your opponent finally realizes they've been playing checkers the whole time? Well, sitting across from Clarissa at a quiet cafe in the Upper East Side, watching her stare into her coffee like it might contain the answers to life's greatest mysteries, I'm pretty sure I'm witnessing that exact moment. The cafe, a little place called Gramercy Grounds that serves overpriced lattes to people who think spending $12 on coffee somehow makes them more sophisticated, is nearly empty at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Just a few remote workers tapping away on MacBooks and a couple of tourists trying to figure out if they're in the right neighborhood for whatever Instagram photo they're chasing. I chose this place specifically because it's neutral territory, the kind of spot where 2 people can have a civilized conversation about the complete destruction of someone's life without causing a scene. Also, they have excellent scones, and if you're going to watch someone's world burn down, you might as well have good pastry. Clarissa looks like she hasn't slept since our little chat last night. The designer clothes are gone, replaced by jeans and a Columbia Law sweatshirt that I'm pretty sure I bought her during her first semester. Her hair is pulled back in a ponytail that screams, I gave up caring about appearances around the same time my credit card stopped working. And her face has that hollow, shell-shocked look of someone who's been hit by a bus and is still trying to figure out what just happened. The terms are humiliating, she says for probably the 5th time since we sat down, stirring her coffee with the kind of mechanical precision that suggests she's not really thinking about what she's doing. I take a bite of my scone, raspberry white chocolate, absolutely divine, and spread the folder of documents across the small table between us. Bank statements, wire transfer receipts, tuition invoices, receipts for everything from her bar exam prep course to that ridiculously expensive laptop she needed for law school research. Humiliating, I repeat thoughtfully, like I'm considering the word. For the first time. That's an interesting choice of words, coming from someone who publicly thanked her boss for sponsoring her future while her husband was standing outside a chained door. She flinches, but doesn't look up from her coffee. I slide the first document across the table, her Columbia Law tuition statement from first semester. Remind me, Clarissa, who wrote this check for $43,000. She glances at it briefly, then looks away. You did. And this one? Second semester tuition. $43,000. You did. How about this? Third semester. $43,000. Michael, I get it. Do you? I interrupt, sliding more documents across the table like I'm dealing cards in the world's most expensive poker game. Because I'm not sure you do. Here's your laptop. $1,500. Your bar exam prep course. $3,000. Your professional wardrobe allowance. And yes, I have receipts for every single shopping trip to Nordstrom and Saks. The pile of evidence grows between us, each document a testament to 3 years of funding someone else's dreams while they planned their exit strategy. Clarissa stares at them like they're written in a foreign language, her face going through a fascinating progression of emotions: denial, recognition, guilt, and finally something that might actually be understanding. Your living expenses, I continue, pulling out the rent receipts. $2,400 a month for 3 years. Your transportation costs, your food, your gym membership, your Netflix subscription, your health insurance, everything. I lean back in my chair and watch her process the math. It's not complicated arithmetic, but sometimes the simplest truths are the hardest to accept. $167,000, I say quietly. That's what your law degree actually cost. Not counting the opportunity cost of supporting you while you weren't working, or the investment returns I gave up by liquidating assets to fund your education. She's crying now, but they're different tears than the dramatic ones from last night. These are the quiet, defeated tears of someone who's finally seeing the truth without any filters or justifications. I never asked you to pay for everything, she whispers. No, I agree. You didn't ask. You just assumed. And when it came time to celebrate your success, you decided the person who made it possible didn't deserve to be there. I pull out my phone and open a new document, typing quickly while she sits there staring at the financial graveyard of our marriage. Here's what we're going to do, I say, turning the phone toward her so she can read the screen. We're going to draft a public statement. Together. And you're going to post it on every social media platform you use, plus LinkedIn, plus whatever legal journals will publish it. She reads the draft, and I watch her face go pale. I want to publicly acknowledge that my husband, Michael Harrington, funded my law school education at Columbia Law School in its entirety, she reads aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. My previous social media posts and public statements suggesting alternative sources of support were inaccurate and misleading. I am grateful for his financial investment in my career and want to set the record straight. Too harsh, I ask, like I'm genuinely concerned about her feelings. Michael, please. Everyone will see this. My colleagues, my clients, everyone in the legal community. They'll know that everything I accomplished was funded by your husband. I finish. Yeah, that's kind of the point. See, the thing about truth, Clarissa, is that it has this funny way of being true whether people know about it or not. I'm just making sure people know about it. She sets the phone down like it's radioactive. What about Martin's post? She asks, grasping for any kind of negotiation room. Will you make him post something too? I laugh, actually laugh, because the question is so beautifully naive. Clarissa, Martin doesn't have social media anymore. Martin doesn't have a job anymore. Martin doesn't have a company anymore. Martin's biggest concern right now is probably figuring out how to explain to his next interviewer why his last position ended with him being escorted out by security. The reality hits her like cold water. She's been so focused on her own humiliation that she forgot Martin's world ended too. But the party, she says desperately. The celebration. Everyone saw him there, saw us together. They'll want to know what happened. They'll figure it out, I say, picking up my phone and making a few edits to the statement. Especially after this goes live and people start doing the math on who is actually paying for what. I show her the revised version, which includes a timeline of my financial support and a brief explanation of how she came to be in a position to work at Henderson and Associates in the first place. This is career suicide, she protests. No, I correct. This is career honesty. There's a difference. Your career isn't ending. It's just starting with the truth instead of a fairy tale about mysterious sponsors and self-made success. I lean forward, meeting her eyes for the first time since she sat down. Here's the thing, Clarissa. You have a choice. You can sign my terms, post this statement, and rebuild your career on an honest foundation. Or you can refuse, and we can let a family court judge decide how much of my money you're entitled to keep after committing adultery. She stares at the phone screen for a long moment, reading and rereading words that are going to change everything. If I post this, she finally says, it goes live tonight. Tonight, I confirm. Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and I'll make sure it gets picked up by the New York Law Journal and Legal Affairs Weekly. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, and picks up the phone. Fine, she whispers. But I want to add one thing. I raise an eyebrow. I want to add that despite everything, I'm grateful. Not just for the money, but for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. I consider this for a moment, then nod. That's fair, I say. After all, it's still the truth. You know what they say about one door closing and another one opening? Well, turns out sometimes the door that opens leads to a drafty warehouse in Brooklyn where a 27-year-old genius is about to change the entire legal industry while surviving on pizza and pure determination. And honestly, That's exactly the kind of door I want to walk through right now. 3 weeks after Clarissa's public mea culpa went viral. And I mean viral, like trending on LinkedIn for 2 days straight while legal Twitter had a field day dissecting our marriage. I'm standing in what used to be a textile factory in Dumbo, looking at the future of legal research through floor-to-ceiling windows that haven't been cleaned since the Clinton administration. The building is everything that Cross and Partners wasn't. Raw concrete floors, exposed brick walls, industrial lighting that buzzes slightly when the wind picks up, and the kind of authentic grittiness that tech companies pay interior designers millions to fake. It's the anti-corporate office, the kind of place where people wear hoodies to million-dollar meetings and nobody cares if you put your feet up on the conference table. Ava Delgado is exactly what you'd expect from someone who dropped out of MIT to revolutionize legal research. 5 feet 3 inches of concentrated brilliance wrapped in a Stanford computer science hoodie and jeans that probably cost less than Clarissa used to spend on lunch. Her hair is pulled back in a messy bun secured with what looks like a pencil. She's wearing sneakers that have seen better decades. And when she shakes my hand, I notice her fingernails are bitten down to nubs, the universal sign of someone whose brain moves faster than the rest of the world can keep up with. "Mr. Harrington," she says, and her voice has that slight accent that suggests English wasn't her first language, but she's more fluent in it than most native speakers. "Thanks for coming out to Brooklyn. I know it's not exactly Wall Street." "Please, call me Michael," I say, looking around the space that's buzzing with the kind of productive chaos that happens when really smart people are solving really hard problems. And honestly, after spending the last few weeks in Manhattan law offices, this feels refreshingly honest. She grins at that, and I can see why her team follows her into this converted warehouse every day instead of taking the safe jobs at Google and Facebook that their resumes could easily command. "Honest is what we're going for," she says, leading me toward a corner of the warehouse where someone has set up what can generously be called a conference area. A few mismatched chairs around a table that looks like it came from a school cafeteria, but with about 15 monitors displaying more code than I've seen outside of a sci-fi movie. "So tell me about the company," I say, settling into a chair that's surprisingly comfortable despite looking like it was rescued from a dumpster. "Your email mentioned artificial intelligence and legal research, but I have to admit, most of what I know about AI comes from watching movies where robots try to take over the world." Ava laughs, a genuine, unguarded laugh that's about as far from Clarissa's practiced social chuckle as you can get. "No killer robots, I promise," she says, pulling up a laptop that's covered in stickers from conferences I've never heard of. "What we're building is basically a legal research assistant that doesn't need coffee breaks or sleep. Think of it as having a junior associate who's read every case law decision, every statute, every legal precedent ever written, and can find exactly what you need in about 30 seconds. She starts typing, and the screen fills with what looks like a search interface, except instead of the clunky legal databases that most firms use, the ones that charge thousands per month and still require you to know exactly what you're looking for. This looks clean, intuitive, almost Google simple. "Watch this," she says, typing in a query that would normally take a team of junior associates hours to research. "Find all precedents for breach of fiduciary duty in partnership agreements where the plaintiff provided over 75% of startup capital." The results appear in less than 20 seconds. Not just case citations, but actual summaries, relevant quotes, and a confidence score for each result's applicability to the query. Holy shit. I breathe, leaning forward to look at the screen more closely. "That's usually the reaction we get," Ava says, clearly proud but trying not to show it. "Our algorithm doesn't just search for keywords. It actually understands legal concepts, relationships between cases, and can identify patterns that human researchers might miss." I scroll through the results, recognizing cases I remember from law school, but also seeing connections I never would have made. It's like having a legal research team of geniuses working 24/7, except they never get tired, never make mistakes, and never bill you for the time they spend arguing about where to order lunch. "This is incredible," I say, and I mean it. "How does it work?" Ava's eyes light up the way Clarissa's used to when she talked about getting promoted to partner. Except this is genuine excitement about solving problems instead of climbing ladders. "We trained our neural network on basically every legal document that's ever been digitized," she explains, pulling up another screen that shows training data metrics that make my head spin. Court decisions, statutes, law review articles, briefs, contracts, millions and millions of documents. The AI learned to understand legal reasoning the same way humans do, except it can process information about 1,000,000 times faster. She shows me more demos. Contract analysis that identifies potential problem clauses, legal brief generation that creates first drafts in minutes instead of days, compliance checking that scans corporate documents for regulatory violations. Each example is more impressive than the last, and I can practically see the dollar signs floating in the air. What's your business model? I ask, because as much as I appreciate brilliant technology, I'm still a business guy at heart. Software as a service, she says, pulling up a presentation that's clearly been refined through dozens of investor meetings. Law firms pay monthly subscriptions based on the size of their team. We're already in beta with 12 firms, including Henderson and Associates. That name makes me smile. Henderson and Associates. Clarissa's firm, the one that's probably still trying to figure out how to spin her public confession into something that doesn't make them look like idiots for not knowing who is actually funding their junior associate's education. The numbers work. I ask. They work beautifully, she says, showing me projections that would make any investor's heart race. Conservative estimates put us at 15 million in revenue by year 2, scaling to over 100 million by year 5. The market for legal technology is massive and underserved. Most firms are still using research tools that haven't been updated since the 1990s. I look around the warehouse, taking in the team of engineers scattered throughout the space. They're young, brilliant, and completely focused on their screens, the kind of people who could be making twice as much at big tech companies but chose to be here because they believe in what they're building. Tell me about your team, I say. Former Google, Netflix, PayPal engineers, she says, and I can hear the pride in her voice. Most of them took pay cuts to join us, working for equity and pizza because they believe we're going to change how legal work gets done. No corporate politics, no bureaucracy, just smart people solving hard problems. I stand up and walk to one of the big windows, looking out at the Manhattan skyline across the river. From here, the city looks different, less intimidating, more like a puzzle waiting to be solved. What do you need from me? I ask. 15 million for 45% equity and a board seat, she says without hesitation. Enough runway to scale the team, invest in sales and marketing, and become the standard legal research platform for mid to large firms. I turn back to face her, this brilliant young woman who's about to revolutionize an industry that desperately needs revolutionizing. Ava, I say, I think we can do business. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my new 2-bedroom apartment on the Upper West Side, sipping coffee that costs more than most people's lunch while reading the morning paper like some kind of suburban dad who actually has his life together. The divorce finalized 3 weeks ago. Clarissa signed everything without a fight. Turns out public humiliation and financial reality have a way of making people surprisingly cooperative. Last I heard through the Legal Gossip Network, she moved to San Francisco and landed a job with some legal aid organization, helping immigrants navigate citizenship paperwork for 35 grand a year. It's honest work, which is more than I can say for her previous career trajectory. Martin? Poor Martin landed in Chicago, working compliance for a mid-tier insurance company. Word is he tells people at networking events that he pivoted to regulatory consulting after successfully exiting his previous venture. It's amazing how creative people get with language when their empire collapses. My phone buzzes with a text from Ava. Just closed the Henderson deal, $2.3 million contract. Rooftop drinks tonight to celebrate. I smile, genuinely smile, for the first time in months. Ava's team hit every milestone I invested in, and Henderson and Associates, Clarissa's old firm, just became their biggest client. The irony is delicious. My apartment is nothing like the marble shrine Clarissa and I used to call home. Wood floors, simple furniture, books everywhere, and a kitchen where I actually cook instead of ordering overpriced takeout. No Instagram-worthy moments, no curated lifestyle shots, just peace. 6 months ago, I stood outside those chained doors, erased from my own celebration. Turns out getting erased was the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes the end of your story is actually just the beginning of a better one. I grab my jacket and head out to meet Ava. Tonight, we're celebrating something real.